how I react, but what do we do? And my answer to that is head down.
And welcome back to another episode of Stand on Guard. Yeah, tell you sometimes we have to stand on guard in our own house here. There we are. Thanks for joining me today. And Katie Pasitney will be joining me very, very shortly. She just asked for a couple of minutes because you know what it's like. It's hectic. So we're going to be going through a lot of documents today. But before we do, I just wanted to say that it looks like Katie's made some progress here, and I want to show you this brief video. And this is this is the shape of things to come.
Because we're going after the, we're going to be filing this in court for the emergency storing. Get over here, Ella, shy. For the emergency stay order that we're in, and I just wanted to like put everybody here. This is for everybody else.
You'll have to talk to our police liaison.
You guys can't accept to notice
We're
that
not
you guys are free. Oh, we've always been able. There's never been a problem with serving you guys, giving you guys papers ever. No? Okay. I don't understand.
Well, it's okay. You can give it to the liaison.
Okay.
They're responsible.
Lester Shy, we're just letting everybody know that we're going after a breach of Supreme Court order, and it is maintain a stay of custody, and they are not doing that. Which means that everybody involved, we're just trying to let you know where we're going with this. We're protecting, obviously, life versus death here. There's a bunch of our animals that are being abused and neglected, and we're just letting you guys all know from this is just our new Supreme Court order, motion of stay, and our old one to show you that there's a difference, as well as notice, and just letting you know what the definition of a maintain custody means.
Oh. Really?
So evidently,
you're all liable, is what you're saying.
No RCMP have everybody treated us like this way before. Obviously, I'm going to guess they know.
They know. Yeah, he went like this. He went.
I'm going to say they know that everybody here is under direct contempt of aiding in this. We're in. I think we just made some progress, everybody.
100%.
It would appear that Katie has made some progress. At least her legal team has made some progress here. Now, I find this interesting because what's new is not the Supreme Court order. Because you may recall that I've been showing everybody the September 24th Supreme Court order for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And I made it clear, I showed this particular slide during my interview with Agriculture Minister Jerry Ritz, who agreed that the CFIA was probably in violation of the Supreme Court order because it was not abiding by and this order specified something very simple. It provided custody to the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. And now what was I saying for weeks? Custody implies care and keeping. Because when you're granted custody of your children, say in a separation or divorce, well, that means you look after the children. You don't starve the children. You don't put them in a room to isolate them. You ensure that they have adequate drinking water, that they have a bed to sleep in at night, they're not on the floor someplace. That's custody. It's a legal term, and we'll go into that in this broadcast. But in terms of what's new is that it appears, well, Katie's legal team, I think, have finally said enough is enough with the violations on the farm. And there have been numerous violations. And we've been talking about these violations. The CFIA goons have been lassoing, harassing, chasing, potentially
stabbing the animals with needles. In one particular shot we showed you, they have been not providing the electrolytes, and this is why Spirit died. They have been not adequately feeding them. They have been not adequately furnishing drinking water. They have not been providing bedding. We showed you evidence of that yesterday, especially in this death pen where they're corralling the birds. They're not providing adequate bedding. So they are failing in every respect. And I can't overemphasize the fact that this is incredible. So what is new here is that they're challenging the right of the Canadian Food Inspection Agency to continuing to squat on their land. I think this is tremendously important. But I find it interesting that, was I the only one talking about the September 24th Supreme Court order? Was I the only one saying, well, clearly, if they're not providing custody and custody alone, the CFIA is in breach of this order? I feel quite vindicated by all of this, because I think this is exactly what needed to be done. I think it's perhaps unfortunate it wasn't done sooner, but better now than never. Because I was on Redacted yesterday talking about what is potentially going on here under the cover of darkness in terms of disposing of ostriches. And this is very nefarious. And here we are, Halloween. I'm calling this the horror farm at night, after what the CFI has done to these people, has done to them. So I'm going to go through a couple of these slides here while we wait for Katie to jump on board. And here, yes, I showed you that. This is integral. This is the challenge. This is the challenge to the agreement. I think this is integral to what's going on here. Yeah, Universal Ostrich Farms. This correspondence is submitted to formally demand that the Royal Canadian Mounted Police uphold and enforce the Supreme Court of Canada's stay order issued on September 24th, 2025, and to immediately intervene to end the ongoing unlawful occupation of Universal Ostrich Farms Incorporated property by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, CFIA. The order states that the order staying the execution and enforcement of the Canadian Food Agency's December 31st, 2024 notice to dispose and any steps under the CFIA's stamping out policy until the application for leave to appeal is dismissed, or if leave to appeal is granted, until the appeal is disposed of. So what the farm is arguing, or what their legal team is arguing, is that the Supreme Court stay quashed the warrant to search. This is integral to this. The warrant to search issued on September 3rd, 2025 was obtained on the sole basis of enforcing that notice and its related measures. When the Supreme Court stayed enforcement, the legal foundation of the warrant ceased to exist, thereby rendering it moot as of September 24th, 2025. So this is, absolutely incredible. And we're just going to, yeah, and there you go. There it is for all you see. I had to I had to literally get screenshots of these from Katie's video yesterday, I'm hoping we can get the entire document, because I think these need to be seen far and wide. And I think that's absolutely essential. I'm going to show you a bit more of that video, because I think this is extremely, extremely important.
Because we're going after the, we're going to be filing this in court for the emergency storage. Get over here, Ella, shy. For the emergency, the stay order that we're in, and I just wanted to like put everybody here. This is for everybody on.
You'll have to talk to our police liaison.
You guys can accept to notice
We're
that
not
you
the
guys are
police
free.
liaison.
Oh, we've always been able. There's been never been a problem with serving you guys, giving you guys papers ever. No? Okay. I don't understand.
Well, it's okay. You can give it to the liaison.
Okay.
They're responsible.
Lester Shy. We're just letting everybody know that we're going after a breach of Supreme Court order, and it is maintain a stay of custody, and they are not doing that, which means that everybody involved, we're just trying to let you know where we're going with this. We're protecting, obviously, life versus death here. There's a bunch of our animals that are being abused and neglected, and we're just letting you guys all know from this is just our new Supreme Court order, motion of stay, and our old one to show you that there's a difference, as well as notice, and just letting you know what the definition of a maintain custody means.
Oh, really?
So
So
evidently,
you're all liable, is what you're saying.
no RCMP have everybody treated us like this way before. Obviously, I'm gonna guess
There was
they
one
know.
in the back.
They know.
Whistled him in.
Yeah, he
I'm
went
gonna
like
say-
this. He went.
I'm gonna say
So, all right, had the mic muted there. We have some breaking news. I just got a text message from Katie. She is asking if she can come on at 9 o'clock Pacific time, 12 noon Eastern time, because she's been contacted by the Supreme Court of Canada. I'm not at liberty to say exactly what the news is, but she just wants some time to prepare to get on the show. And so we're going to continue with the explanation of what's happening here, which I think could be even more crucial given potentially bad news from the Supreme Court. I'm not, like I say, I don't know either way right now what the Supreme Court has said, but there's apparently been some movement there. And we've been predicting this for quite some time, that there would be some movement, because this is costing $100,000 a day. So we're going to bear with this story today, and we're going to ensure that we get the news to you in as timely fashion as possible. So until that happens, I want to go through some of these slides to explain what Katie's legal team is doing here. Because what they did, they went to Blacklock's legal dictionary to define what the legal definition of custody is when used in a stay order. And it means the respondent shall maintain custody of the birds that are subject to the notice to dispose. It means the CFI must retain fiscal control of the animals. The CFI has a legal duty of care to safeguard their health and well-being Yes, the CFI cannot alter, destroy, dispose of, or harm what they have custody of. Their role is to preserve, not to prepare for execution of the notice under stay. Now, we have been arguing for quite some time that the CFIA has not just been preparing to kill these animals, they have potentially been disposing of these animals. I use that word in a very careful legal sense, because we know whether or not the CFA took custody of 399 birds or 330 birds. We know there's fewer than 300 birds there on the site. Where did they go? What's been happening to them at night? This is what we need to know. And to me, it's absolutely phenomenal that the CFIA or the RCMP could have been acting under the assumption that somehow the September 24th order was in effect. I don't believe that. The RCMP and the CFIA have huge legal staffs. They were aware of this issue. They were aware of what was happening. And I think this is very clear. And I think they knew they were in contravention of this order. So I want to go through a few more of these slides. The Supreme Court stay was squashed by the warrant search. The warrant to search issued on September 3rd, 2025 was obtained on the sole basis of enforcing the notice of its related measures. When the Supreme Court stayed enforcement, the legal foundation of the warrant ceased to exist, thereby rendering it moot as of September 24th, 25. This is where their legal team is going with this. Accordingly, CFIA lost all jurisdiction to continue occupying or controlling the farm property after that date. Their ongoing presence and actions, including the construction of hay bale enclosures, kill pens, importation of equipment, and exclusion of lawful owners, are without any lawful authority and constitute an ongoing breach of both property rights and the Supreme Court order. Now, what else have we got here? Yeah, we did that. Yeah. Here we are. Sorry. Here's what the Supreme Court specifically ordered on September 6th. And this is the old court order. And when Katie talks about an old one and a new one, this is the old one. And apparently the RCMP and the CFIA have been acting under the assumption that the old court order is in effect. When Katie herself waved around the September 24th court order, did they not notice? Look, all you have to do is go to the Supreme Court of Canada website, look for Universal Ostrich Farms, Canadian Food Inspection Agency order, and you'll find the current order. It's all there. And so here is what, no, I just want to, here, the old order, number 3 is missing from the new court order, which of course I've been reporting about now for 3 or 4 weeks. And if I can just read that, please. This order does not prevent the respondent from continuing to take preparatory steps to execute the notice to dispose. That is missing from the new court order. The respondent shall maintain custody of the birds that are subject to the notice to dispose, and the applicant shall not interfere with the respondent's custody of the birds pending the decision on this motion and the application for leave to appeal. So that's the primary difference here. That's the primary difference. I want to get to this. Now, what is the farm demanding? The farm is demanding an immediate RCMP action to notify the CFIA immediately that its legal authority to enforce, occupy, or restrict access to this property was extinguished by the Supreme Court stay order on September 24th, 2025. Order the CFIA to cease all unauthorized operations and vacate the premises. 3, allow the owners and their agents unrestricted access to their land and livestock. So that's where this stands today. And as I said, there has been some breaking news on this. I think we'll know within the hour what that breaking news is. So we're going to do a second show today, either at noon if we can get Katie on then, or noon at 12:30 Eastern time, whenever she's ready to do this, because I think some very substantial news to report on this issue. So I'm going to go through a couple of other things that are newsworthy right now. We're going to end the show at about half hour after. Then we're going to come back again with another show in about half an hour or an hour after that. But I did want to show you, I think, some of the stuff that I find most interesting right now. And if you didn't catch my bit on redacted last night, I encourage you to see that, because the RCMP is, oh, by the way, yeah, this is incredible. I have been predicting this for 30 years, that Aboriginal title would end up with a massive attack on private property and result in tens, potentially hundreds of thousands of people losing their homes. And here's Jonathan Kay, who I used to know at the National Post. What an incredible clusterfuck in BC. A decade ago, homeowners who may now lose their houses weren't notified about it because, 1, the courts worried that property owners would try to make their voices heard and swamp the proceedings. 2, the province worried about legal liability. And 3, the city said it was the responsibility of First Nations. So is there going to be any common sense here? I really don't think so. And by the way, it's interesting, the CBSA has seized hundreds of liters of precursor chemicals from China used to produce fent. Yesterday's news, that was released like literally an hour after I said the RCMP should be doing more work enforcing the drug laws at the Vancouver ports and stop harassing law-abiding farmers in Edgewood, BC. And how far is this Aboriginal title going? Well, a Canadian man who has owned a Richmond, BC home since 1975 has been told by his mortgage lender that they won't renew his mortgage because the BC Supreme Court has given the title of the land to the Cowichan Native tribe. Encourage you to read my Substack yesterday, which we also discussed in yesterday's broadcast, about this $80 billion deal from the U.S. government to Brookfield Asset Management and Cameco to work with Westinghouse, which is owned by Brookfield, to produce nuclear reactors for the Trump administration. So you wonder why Mark Carney was on bended knee all the time when he was dealing with Donald Trump. That's probably why. Anyway, wanted to share that with you. And like I said, we're going to be ending this show a little early today because we've got some breaking news out of Edgewood, BC, and we're going to find out what that is. And I'm going to show you my store, and I'll be right back with more. Yeah, here's my Substack. I encourage you all to read that because it's an $80 billion contract. This illustrates for me the immensity, the immensity of corruption in the Carney government. And I think it's absolutely astounding. This is not only a government that can't get the job done, that can't deliver on its major promise of bringing free trade, or sorry, of bringing a trade deal with the United States, with the Trump administration. This is what it promised to do. It's going to elbows up, get tough with the Trump administration. Carney, of course, had other plans. I think one of those was to ensure Brookfield kept getting money sent its way from the United States government. And Mark Carney has done nothing for Canada, but he believes he's going to win a majority government. And by the way, I was at the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedom's fundraising dinner last night, talked to a bunch of people. So many folks came up to me and said, we watch you, yes, unredacted, and we also love your own show, Stand on Guard. We watch you all the time. And I talked to a lot of people about whether or not we're going to have an election, an early election, and how they think it's going to turn out. It was about 50-50. And these are all small C conservatives, small L libertarians. It's a mixture in terms of political party supporting. Well, you've got a lot of people supporting the People's Party of Canada, other people supporting the Conservative Party of Canada. I don't think there was a Liberal Party of Canada member or supporter in the House. I'd be very shocked if there was. But it was about 50-50 in terms of whether they thought the Conservatives were going to win in a new election or whether the Liberals would get a majority. And I find it very worrisome because I've been arguing on this show potentially ever since Mark Carney won the last election that we need another election because there's going to be dangerous bills coming down the pike. Those dangerous bills are already coming down the pike. There's censorship and surveillance bills, and those bills have to be stopped. Those bills absolutely have to be stopped. So I'll tell you what, folks, we're going to exit now. I'm going to prepare for another show. It's either going to be at noon or 12:30 Eastern time. And we're going to find out what's going on in Edgewood, BC at the Universal Ostrich Farms. And Katie apologizes. She couldn't make it at 11 o'clock Eastern time this morning. She was in the middle of this very important call that came totally unexpectedly. And she just needs some time to prepare. So she will be with us as soon as possible. I want to thank you for joining me this time. That's the nature of the news. When you're reporting things live, sometimes you have to prepare for the unexpected. Sometimes you even have to prepare for the unthinkable. And let's hope it's not too unthinkable. Because you know how hard a lot of us have worked to get the story out about this ostrich farm. And so many of you have been so positive, so receptive, so supportive of my doing that, even though in terms of the algorithm on YouTube, it's probably not the best story to cover. But in terms of what I think is historically necessary, what I think is morally right, what I think journalism should be focusing on, it was the right decision to do. It was the right thing to do, and it remains the right thing to do. So bear with me. You'll see me again today. I'll be back as soon as possible. This has been David Krayden broadcasting to you live from Ottawa. We'll be back again shortly. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.